The churning river slammed against a half-submerged yellow school bus, water rising steadily inside. Through foggy windows, 12 terrified faces, children no older than 12, pressed against the glass, eyes wide with desperation as the muddy current swirled higher. Spring storms had transformed Colorado's normally peaceful Elk River into a raging torrent. Flash flood warnings had come too late for driver Meredith Collins, who'd attempted to cross what appeared to be a manageable ford on the rural route back from Pinecrest Science Camp. The rising waters had caught the bus mid-crossing, sweeping it 20 yards downstream where it now sat wedged between boulders, tilting precariously as each wave hit. "We can't get close enough," shouted Fire Chief Dawson, his rescue team struggling at the riverbank. Their inflatable rescue boat had already capsized in one attempt. The current simply too powerful. The helicopter circling overhead couldn't descend into the narrow canyon, its downdraft potentially destabilizing the bus further. Standard rescue protocols were failing as water inside the vehicle climbed past the seats. Water's rising an inch every minute. A paramedic called out, checking her watch. Those kids have maybe 40 minutes before full submersion. The gathered parents watched in helpless horror as their children pressed handprints against windows soon to be underwater. That's when Jacob Miller arrived. The tall man with close-cropped hair had been fly fishing upstream when emergency sirens drew him to the scene. Few noticed his quiet assessment of the situation, or the way he methodically removed his jacket to reveal muscular forearms covered in faded tattoos, one clearly showing the Navy EOD insignia. "I can help," he told Chief Dawson simply. "I was an explosive ordnance disposal diver, specialized in underwater vessel extraction." The chief looked skeptical but desperate. "You're saying you can reach them?" Miller's eyes never left the bus. "Yes, sir. I can reach them." Miller crouched at the riverbank, calculating variables most civilians wouldn't recognize. He dipped his hand in the churning water, feeling the temperature, about 48 degrees, cold enough to induce hypothermia in children within 30 minutes. He watched floating debris passing the bus, mentally timing their speed, approximately 12 knots, beyond what even strong swimmers could navigate safely. "Current's moving too fast for a direct approach," he explained to Chief Dawson. "And that bus is only temporarily stable. See how it shifts with each wave? Those rocks won't hold it much longer." Miller's assessment continued methodically. Distance the bus 30 yards, best entry point upstream of the bend, potential exit routes, downstream sandbar primary extraction failed. His mind processed these factors automatically, the result of hundreds of training exercises in naval special warfare. Things suddenly worsened. A large branch carried by the current slammed into the bus's side window, cracking the glass. Water began pouring in faster, bringing screams from the children that carried over the river's roar. Through his borrowed binoculars, Miller spotted a young girl using an inhaler, asthmatic, likely to panic first as stress mounted. "We tried sending a line over, but it's too far," Dawson explained. "Fire truck ladder won't extend that distance. Boat can't handle the current." Dark clouds gathered upstream, promising more rain to further swell the already dangerous waters. The situation deteriorated by the minute. "We got maybe 30 minutes now, not 40, Miller corrected, watching the waters rise. "Once it reaches the windows, pressure differential will make opening doors impossible." As rescue personnel debated options, Miller stood silently, his mind replaying similar scenarios from his military career. He'd extracted downed pilots from submerged helicopters off the coast of Somalia. He'd rescued local children from flash floods outside Baghdad. This was different yet fundamentally the same. Lives at stake, time running out, conventional methods failing. The weight of 12 young lives pressed against his conscience. In the Navy, the core principle had been drilled into him. No one gets left behind. Some habits never leave you, even after the uniform comes off. "I need to inventory what we have," Miller finally said, breaking his silence. He emptied his fishing vest, cordage multi-tool, waterproof flashlight from the rescue teams. He borrowed a life jacket, communication earpiece, and 100 feet of rescue rope. He eyed a fallen tree trunk nearby, potential anchor point. His fly fishing waders might provide some initial protection against the cold, though they'd fill quickly in the current. not ideal equipment for the task, but Miller had operated with less and worse conditions. EOD training emphasized improvisation, using whatever was available to complete the mission. "I'm going in," he announced. No drama in his voice, just calm determination. "But I'll need your team's position exactly where I tell you. This is going to be a multi-stage extraction." The fire chief recognized the quiet authority in Miller's voice, the unmistakable tone of someone who had faced death before and knew precisely what needed to be done. As Miller prepared, his mind flashed back to BUD/S training at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado. Instructor Ramirez's voice echoed across years. "Water's not your enemy. It's just the environment. Respect it, read it, use it to your advantage." During his third deployment, Miller had helped extract a Humvee swept into the Euphrates with 2 Marines trapped inside. The principles were the same here. Understand water dynamics, establish multiple contingencies, maintain air supply management. "I'm not going to try fighting the current directly," Miller explained, sketching a quick diagram in the mud for the rescue team. "I'll use an upstream entry with an angled approach, letting the current carry me to the bus while controlling my trajectory. It's a technique we use for underwater demolition approaches." His plan was unconventional, but built on solid principles. The fishing line would serve as a pilot line to deliver heavier rescue rope. He'd rig a makeshift harness system using the life jacket and fishing vest, creating what the Navy called a contingent personal flotation system. "Once I reach the bus, I'll secure this line," he continued. "Your team will create a high-line tension system between these points. That becomes our extraction route. I'll secure each child with improvised harnesses. Then you'll pull them across one by one." Miller adapted his military underwater extraction protocols for civilian use, simplifying the technical terminology. He showed rescue personnel how to tie a bowline knot, the same one Navy divers use because it won't slip under tension, even when wet. For the children's evacuation, he taught the fire team a simplified version of the Navy's 3-point communication system, visual signals that would work despite the noise and chaos. 1 arm raise meant stop, 2 meant pull, circular motion meant emergency extraction. "These kids will be terrified," Miller acknowledged. "In the military, we use a technique called directed comm, speaking with authority while giving simple, clear instructions. Children respond to confident direction, even in panic situations." As Miller waded into shallows, he felt a familiar focus descend, the mental state EOD divers call controlled urgency. His body remembered the training, how to position himself against current, the precise angle to minimize water resistance, the breathing rhythm that conserved energy. He tied the fishing line around his waist, secured the multi-tool to his belt, and positioned a flashlight inside his waders for waterproof protection. Chief Dawson handed him a small medical kit, which Miller strapped to his upper arm, accessible even underwater. "The bus windows are likely the entry point," he told the team. "I'll need to submerge and enter from the downstream side, where water pressure works for me rather than against me." Miller stepped deeper, feeling the current's pull. He positioned himself upstream from a large boulder, what military swimmers called a flow break, and used it as a launching point. With practiced precision, he angled his body at exactly 45 degrees to the current, allowing the water's force to propel him while maintaining directional control. "Beginning approach," he said into the communication device, then pushed off. The current grabbed him immediately, but unlike an untrained swimmer who would fight directly against it, Miller worked with the flow. He used a modified combat side stroke, another Navy technique, keeping his profile low while using subtle hand movements to adjust trajectory. To observers, it looked as though he was being swept away, but every movement was calculated, each adjustment minute but precise. When debris approached, Miller executed what EOD divers called obstacle anticipation, reading the water's surface tension to predict the object's path and adjusting his position accordingly. A technique that saved his life in debris-filled waters off the coast of Yemen now carried him safely toward 12 trapped children. As he neared the bus, Miller transitioned to the underwater approach phase. With a deep breath, he submerged, using the current's underwater velocity layers, stronger at the surface, weaker near the riverbed, to control his final approach. Through murky water, The yellow outline of the school bus grew larger. Miller broke the surface beside the bus, immediately securing himself to its frame with cordage. Through the windows, 12 pairs of eyes locked onto him, some crying, others frozen in shock. The water inside had reached seat level, soaking the children up to their waists as they huddled on top of seats. He found a rear window already partially broken and cleared the remaining glass with his multi-tool. "I'm Jacob," he called out, his voice deliberately calm yet commanding, the same tone he'd used talking down panicked sailors during emergency drills. "I'm going to get every one of you out. I need you to listen carefully and do exactly what I say." Just as Miller began to enter, the bus shifted, the boulders losing their grip as the water rose. His training instantly triggered a contingency shift. "Change of plans," he said into his communicator. "Bus destabilizing. Moving to direct extraction. Prepare highline system now." Inside, the situation was worse than expected. A girl with dark hair clutched an inhaler, gasping through an asthma attack triggered by panic. 2 younger boys were crying uncontrollably. The water rose visibly with each passing minute. "Everyone look at me," Miller commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I'm going to teach you something Navy divers learn." He demonstrated a calming breathing technique. 4 counts in, hold for 7, 8 counts out. Remarkably, the children followed his lead, their breathing synchronizing. The asthmatic girl's breathing eased slightly as Miller helped administer her inhaler. "We're going out through this window one at a time," he explained, rigging the first makeshift harness from his fishing vest. "The firefighters will pull you across. It'll be scary, but I promise it's safe." He selected the smallest children first. Standard military evacuation protocol. As the first boy was secured, Miller noticed the bus slide several inches. Time was running out. "Extraction 1. Coming out." Miller called through a communicator, helping guide the first child through the window. The boy screamed as he hit the cold water, but Miller's firm hand on his shoulder steadied him. "Eyes on the shore," Miller instructed. "See your mom waiting? Focus on her." The highline system worked. The first child was pulled safely to shore. Then the second. With each successful extraction, Miller had to fight harder against the rising water and his own diminishing strength. The cold sapped his energy, old shoulder injuries flaring as he lifted child after child to the window. By the 9th child, the water had reached his chest. The asthmatic girl, now with severe breathing difficulties, was next. Miller made an instant decision, removing his own emergency breathing apparatus from his kit and showing her how to use it. "This will help you breathe," he explained, securing it to her face. Military equipment, best in the world. Without the breathing device for himself, the final extraction became significantly more dangerous. But Miller never hesitated. The last 3 children, the teacher, and Miller himself remained, with water now reaching the ceiling of the bus. The vehicle shifted again, more dramatically this time. Final extraction now. Miller ordered, no longer hiding the urgency. He rapidly secured the remaining children, sending them out in quick succession, each one safely reaching shore despite the worsening conditions. Only Miller and the teacher remained when the bus lurched violently. "Go now," he told her, helping her through the window. As she was pulled to safety, the bus broke free from its temporary mooring, beginning to sink completely. Miller took one final breath and pushed through the window into the churning current. A cheer erupted from the riverbank as Miller's head broke the surface downstream. 2 firefighters rushed into the shallows, pulling him onto solid ground just as the yellow roof of the school bus disappeared beneath the water surface. The timing couldn't have been more dramatic. Had he delayed even 30 seconds, the outcome would have been tragically different. Paramedics immediately wrapped thermal blankets around the shivering children, who, despite their ordeal, were all safely ashore. The asthmatic girl, Emma, still clutched Miller's breathing device, unwilling to let go of what she called her Navy magic air machine. Parents embraced their children, many too overcome with emotion to speak. When reporters arrived and thrust microphones toward Miller, he gently deflected their hero labels. "I just applied training," he explained, water still dripping from his clothes. "The real heroes are these kids who stayed calm and followed instructions perfectly." and the fire department who executed the extraction system flawlessly. Chief Dawson knew better. "I've been in rescue work 20 years, he told the assembled media. "Never seen anything like what this man did today. That current would have killed most swimmers, yet he navigated it like it was a swimming pool." As medical personnel insisted on checking Miller for hypothermia, Emma's mother approached, tears streaming down her face. "My daughter says you gave her your breathing thing, that you risked your own life for hers." Miller shrugged uncomfortably. "It's what we're trained to do, ma'am. No one gets left behind." 3 weeks later, Miller began volunteering with the county's water rescue team, teaching specialized techniques to local firefighters. Several of the children from the bus maintained contact, sending hand-drawn pictures of their Navy hero. This rescue reminds us of something often forgotten in our civilian world. Military training creates individuals who carry exceptional skills into everyday life. While we typically see veterans through the lens of combat service, their true value to communities may be in these unexpected moments of crisis, when specialized training transforms an ordinary day into a story of survival. For every military rescue story we share, countless others go untold. Veterans quietly applying their training to save lives, protect communities, and guide others through chaos. They continue serving long after the uniform comes off. Have you ever witnessed a veteran using military training in an emergency situation? Share your story in the comments below. If this rescue mission moved you, please like and subscribe for more extraordinary stories of military heroes serving in civilian life. What other military skills do you think translate well to emergency situations?